Guys, today you're in for a special episode because I will finally be introducing the 13 GT500, and we will also be doing a revamp of the rear suspension with a few parts that I'm about to show you. The first thing you want to do is break loose the lug nuts while the car is on the floor. Next thing you want to do is put a piece of plywood onto the jack center and place it right underneath the rear differential and slowly jack it up. Next thing you want to do is get some jack stands, and I like to place them here just because I know that Ford pressed in the axle tubes, so unless I'll use it as a last resort, but I'd rather use this area right here. Alright, for some of you that know me know that I've had a 13 Shelby before in the past, and one of my biggest complaints was that the rear suspension was trash. I found it very difficult to get hooked up. Well, I wasn't about to make that same mistake again, so I definitely wanted to revamp the rear suspension. With that being said, I did order was the rear anti-roll bar with end links and brackets, and the rear lower control arms from BMR. And then I ordered the rear support brace, and then the Panhard bar, which is adjustable. Oh, I think I hear my neighbor coming in. Super clean GT. Let me give you guys a quick peek. I want to drop the anti-roll bar in the back so that way it won't be in the way of the support beam or the Panhard bar whenever I install it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do the other side. Just keep in mind the orientation of the stop nut is going to be on the inside, and then the actual bolt, you're going to slide it in through the outside. And just like that, it's out of the way. Next thing that we're going to tackle are the two bolts for the support beam. We're now going after the other side of the support brace, and it's going to be that top nut. The other side has a top bolt. We're only going to focus on taking this part out, this nut out. Alright, the stock support beam is out, and it doesn't take much examining to determine that the Whiteline support beam is by far better quality. This support beam will complement the Panhard bar as well, and it'll allow the Panhard bar to use up the full capacity of what it offers. It was kind of hard to get the bolt aligned with the beam insert in the middle, the hole. So what I did was just loosen up the Panhard bar bolt, because as you can tell, if it's tightened all the way, so it's clamping these two pieces of metal together. And if you loosen it enough, you'll have plenty of room to wiggle this bar in and get it aligned just right for the bolt and the nut to be screwed on. Also, I did forget to mention that we took out the complete anti-roll bar with the end links and those bushings that attach to the brackets. So it's completely out of the way, and we have a lot more room in here. So I'd advise just to probably do the same thing. Now that we have the support beam in, you can tell that I put the top bolts in at the very top, but I haven't tightened them or torqued them all the way down yet. We're not going to do that until the very end, until everything is in place. The next thing we're going to do is take out the bolt and the stop nut for the driver's side. Alright, now that we have the Panhard bar out, we're going to go ahead and make adjustments to the Whiteline Panhard bar. so that it matches the same length as the stock Panhard bar. And then once we get the Panhard bar on the car, we'll go ahead and make adjustments accordingly. Alright guys, we have finished buttoning up the rear support beam and the Panhard bar. One thing I will note is that you'll want to grease up this end right here, and you'll want to slide it in first before you put it in the other side. Next thing we're going to do is get started on the rear anti-roll bar and the end links and brackets. So we're going to tackle that next. Alright guys, I got both of these brackets onto the axle tubes with the brackets and all that. It does take some maneuvering, and it is possible to do it one person though. You'll just need to get one side aligned first. What I did was put the end links on first, and then I got one of the brackets on from the axle tube onto the actual anti-roll bar, one at a time. And I started with the driver's side first and left the nuts very loose. I barely got maybe one complete turn on them, just so that way I have enough slack and enough play in order to get the passenger side on. And right now it's on the last hole. I think I will put it on the second to the last hole just to give it a little bit more stiffness. And I'm going to tighten up the end links so that way there's no loose play on those. And that should finish up with the anti-roll bar. Everything's already tightened up. The only thing that left loose was the jam nuts and the this hex right here, so that way I can adjust the Panhard bar. Once I put load onto the differential, that way I can see which tire is sticking out more than the other. Tomorrow morning I'm going to be doing the lower control arms because it's about to get dark already, and I was getting some real bad banding on my camera whenever I was using my LED light last time I did the motorcycle video. So I'm just gonna avoid that, and we'll just start back up again tomorrow. Guys, we are back again. The last thing we have left to do is to wrap up the installation of the rear suspension by installing the lower control arms, greasing the bushings, and then adjusting the Panhard bar, and that should wrap up this project. First things first, we do want to remove the brake cable, which is right here. And what we're going to do is take off this clip, and we're going to pull up, adjust the top of the head on this cable, turn it, and it should pop right out. While this cable's off, I'll show you so it'll be a lot easier to see. There's a clip about right here. To take that out, so the orientation of this head is going to be facing east and west, side to side of the car. You're going to get some pliers, you're going to put it on each side of the head, you're going to pull it up and turn it north and south, so that way it's facing the front and back of the car. And then after that, it should slide right out, and then you're going to walk it through the middle of that control arm, take it out, and that should be the completion of removing the cable. When you remove the lower control arm, be sure that you have a preload onto the differential with the jack, and then you're going to also want to get an 18mm socket and preferably a 1/2" ratchet in the inside. Start to break the bolt loose and take it off. And the other side has a stop nut, so you don't have to worry about putting a wrench on this side. And the same goes for the front of the lower control arm. As you see right there, you'll put another 18mm socket there, and on the other side there is another stop nut. And that should be all you need to do to take the lower control arm off. I went ahead and just jacked it up from the middle differential, and everything aligned perfectly so that I could remove the bolt, and so it was a lot easier. So the next thing we're gonna do is get the control arm that is for that side, which would be this one right here. So the bushings on the control arm are going to be pointing down, and then the thinner side will be facing the front of the car, and the side that is uneven, which is an offset, the side that is longer, which is the left side on this particular lower control arm, will be pointing towards the middle of the car, which would be pointing towards the differential. Alright, so we now have the lower control arm onto the driver's side of the car, and we reinstalled the e-brake cable, so that way everything is back in order. We have the clip back in place, and we have the tip of the head in the correct orientation. And then underneath, you see we have the bolt back in with the lock nut, along with the front hardware as well. And the last thing I'm going to do is just grease the bushings, and that should wrap up. You'll do the same exact thing to the driver's side, and you should be done with your process. Alright guys, and just like that, we're absolutely done with this project. We have finished all the rear suspension components, and I just finished aligning the Panhard bar so that everything is symmetrical. Everything looks good, and I'm ready to drop this car and give her a bath. Everything's already torqued down underneath. There's the lower control arms, the anti-roll bar, Panhard bar, and the support brace up top on both sides, and everything looks good under here. So I did a few pulls. It felt a whole lot better than what it felt like before. The car in the rear end, it just bites down a lot more. It just goes in a straight line as compared to before. Whenever I'd punch it, it'd get a little squirrely. And since it's a heavier car, once you get out of control, it can go way far south. So you want to be sure that you're in complete control of this car and do all the suspension upgrades that you can do, because it helps out a lot and it's a major improvement. Just do a brief walk around just to show y'all guys what we're working with here. I purchased this car from a guy in Houston who's an older gentleman. He is the original owner, and he took very well care of it. When I got the car, it only had about 7,000 miles, and now I believe it has like about 9,000, but it's already been well over a year. He did take the car to Hennessy Performance, and they did some upgrades over there for him. As you can see here, they have the Hennessy stamp, HPE 750. I'm assuming that's 750 to the crank. There's another stamp right there. The work that they did from Hennessy included a throttle body, intake, pulley. I'm pretty sure that's a 2.4. And they installed this reservoir tank, Corsa axle backs, and I'm pretty sure they're the sports because they aren't very loud. Did put these tires on whenever I got the car because it was still on the original tires, and these are the NT555 R2s. They're really good. They do well in the rain, and they bite down pretty good whenever you need them to. Another thing that I did was put the Roush side skirts on, and then the rear bumper side skirt. Alright guys, before we wrap up today's episode, I did want to leave you with one last piece of the puzzle that we will be adding onto the car, and that is the full exhaust system from American Racing Headers. I did order this piece back in April 2023, but unfortunately the vendor that I ordered them from told me that American Racing Headers was moving their factories from one state to another, and the whole process was a little bit laggy. Least to say, we finally got them, and so we're ready to put them in the car. I will be doing that later on this month. These are 1 7/8 long tube headers, and I do have the off-road extensions and the X-pipe. So we'll be putting that in. We will also be data logging the car, and I'll show you that process along the way too. So stay tuned guys, and we'll see you next time.